Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you how to make this super easy chunky knit hat with a cute little faux fur pom-pom on top. I figured since it doesn't look like winter is in a hurry to leave anytime soon, this hat would be perfect for those cold winter days ahead. This pattern is great for beginners and seasoned knitters alike, so let's just get into the video. Here's what you'll need. And if you wanted to skip to making just the pom-pom part, skip ahead to 13:15, or the timestamp is in the description box below. So first we're going to want to cast on, and we're going to use the long tail cast on method. You should have a pretty long yarn tail, hence the name long tail cast on. Start by making a slip knot like this, and place the slip knot on your knitting needle, pulling the yarn taut but not too tight. So this piece is your yarn tail, and this one is the working yarn. Hold both yarns in your hand with your last 3 fingers and insert the thumb and index finger in between the 2 yarns like this. The yarn around your thumb should be the tail, and the yarn around your index finger should be the working yarn. Now bring your needle underneath the yarn closest to you and inside that loop, and then bring it over and underneath the working yarn and bring that through the first loop to create a cast on stitch. I know this may seem a little confusing for beginners, so just watch this a couple times until you get the hang of it. So you want to cast on a total of 36 stitches. And here's what it looks like with all the stitches cast on. You could see that the tail got shorter. Now you want to turn your work around and hold it in your left hand. And take the other needle in your right hand and make sure you're working with the working yarn and not the yarn tail. So I like to hold the tail out of the way so I don't accidentally work on it. Now I like to wrap the working yarn around my pinky and then my index finger of my left hand. I think it's called the continental method, and this is just how I like to do it. But if you have a different method, feel free to use whatever is more comfortable for you. So we're going to work in 1 by 1 rib stitch until you get to about 3 inches from the cast on edge. And to do this, you're going to knit 1 and purl 1 all the way until the end of the row. So to knit, you want to bring the working yarn behind your work and insert the right needle through the stitch from front to back, loop the working yarn around the needle and pull it through the stitch, then pull the stitches off the left needle to the right. Then to purl, bring the working yarn to the front of your piece, insert the right needle into the stitch from back to front, wrap the yarn around the needle, pull it through the stitch, and pull the stitches off the left needle to the right. And then just repeat that all the way across the row. You have your first row ribbing. So turn your work around into your left hand and just repeat that same thing. Knit 1, purl 1 all the way across the row. And just repeat this for the remaining rows. Mine was about 8 rows, but it's going to vary for everyone depending on the thickness of the yarn, the tension, and the needle size. So just keep knitting until you get 3 inches from the cast on edge. And then take the work in your left hand and just knit across the whole row. So knit all the way to the end, and this will be called your right side. Turn the work around into your left hand, and then for this row, you want to purl all the way across. So again, bringing the working yarn in front of the piece and inserting the needle into the stitch from back to front, wrapping the yarn around and pulling it through. So this is going to be called the wrong side of your piece. Turn the piece around again into the left hand, and then knit across the row again. So you'll be alternating knitting one row and then purling one row all the way until the end of the piece. And this is called the stockinette stitch. So continue knitting in stockinette stitch until you get 9 inches from the cast on edge. And this was about 16 rows for me. Now I want to take a long piece of the working yarn, maybe around 20 inches, and then just cut it. So take your tapestry needle and insert the yarn through it. This needle is different from a normal sewing needle because it is larger and much thicker. And then this part is really easy. Instead of casting off, we're just going to insert the needle through the stitches and transfer all the stitches onto the yarn. So do this all the way across until you get all the stitches off of the needle. And pull all the stitches tight together, but make sure not to pull it too tight because you can break the yarn. But pull it tight enough to close up the top. And at this point you can decide which side you want to be the outside of the hat, the purl or knit side. I just decided to use the knit side. So to close up the hat, we're going to insert the needle through the first stitch across and pull it through. And then pull it tight. And then insert the needle back through the stitch you were in. But don't pull it all the way through. Leave a loop like this, and then insert the needle through that loop to make a knot, and then pull tight to close it up. And then to close up the sides of the hat, we're going to be using the vertical invisible seam. So line up the edges side by side with the right side of the fabric facing up, and then insert the needle under the first 2 horizontal bars of the stitch you want to join, and then pull it through. And then go to the opposite side of the piece and insert the needle underneath the horizontal bars of that side, and then pull it through. back and forth, sewing underneath the horizontal bars along the edge. After a couple stitches, pull the yarn gently and it'll close up the side. So just keep going back and forth and stopping after a couple stitches and pulling. Don't pull too hard, otherwise it'll be too tight. So just do this all the way until you get to the end of your piece. Inside out once you get all the way to the end, and insert the needle into a loop. It doesn't matter which one. And then leave a loop and then insert the needle into that loop to make a knot. And then you just want to weave your ends in. So I just wove my ends into the seam so you wouldn't see it. And then cut off the excess yarn. And then just weave in the ends of the other yarn. Turn it right side out and you're done with the hat portion. Now to make the pom-pom, this is super easy. You could literally make a bunch of these and stick them on all of your hats. So take a piece of faux fur. It's probably easiest to work with a square piece, but this is just what I had. And then take a needle and thread and insert it onto one corner of the fur. And I'm just sewing it a couple times into this corner to reinforce it. And then you're going to go to the opposite corner and insert the needle from top to bottom and then pull it tight. And then go to another corner and insert it from top to bottom and pull that. Now taking some stuffing, this is completely optional, but I feel like it gives it a little bit more body. And you just want to put some inside of the faux fur. Now I'm using roving because I didn't have stuffing, so just use what you have. And then insert your needle into the last corner and pull that tight. And then you're just going to keep inserting the needle into opposite corners until it's all closed up and resembles a pom-pom shape. So just keep sewing until you get the shape you desire. And then I'm sewing around the bottom of the pom-pom. Make a knot at the end. And make sure you have a long enough piece of yarn, otherwise you'll have to attach a new piece of yarn like I did. And then then you're just going to want to sew it onto the top of your hat. So insert the needle through the top of the hat, pull it through, and then insert the needle through the inside of the hat and pull it through. And then insert it into the pom-pom. Into the hat. And just repeat this until you get all the way around the top of the hat. Just make a knot in the inside of the hat. And then just cut off the excess thread. And you are done. And here's the finished result. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it was super helpful. And please be sure to check out my other videos, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more DIY videos like this. Until next time, bye!